After 20 years in engineering, my boss glanced at a spreadsheet and said, "You're too expensive." No warning, no thank you. Just like that, I was out. But what happened next will shock even those who thought they'd seen everything. But first, let's go back to the beginning. The mug was still warm in my hand when the email pinged. "Come by when you can, Marcus." No subject line, no urgency. I thought maybe he wanted input on the new rollout schedule or to ask for my help smoothing over another supplier snafu. We were in the middle of a precarious cross-platform migration, and I'd been in the thick of it for months. If I was tired, I didn't show it. If I was burned out, I didn't say it. 20 years had trained me to be steady, invisible when needed, undeniable when it counted. When I walked into his office, he didn't even stand. He was scrolling on his phone, tapping his screen like he was ordering lunch, not reshaping someone's life. His desk was too clean, the kind of clean that meant something had been decided. The coffee on his side table hadn't been touched. "Logan," he said without looking at me, "this isn't personal. You're just too expensive." I blinked, not at the words, but at how casually he delivered them. Like a price tag at a clearance rack. No appreciation, no context, just a cost-benefit analysis spat out of a spreadsheet. That was it. Not a single line about my years keeping the line stable when half the back end was duct tape and good guesses. Not even a thank you for keeping the company solvent during the chip shortage or staying overnight on the factory floor during last winter's firmware crisis. Too expensive. He said it like it explained everything, like cost was the only axis worth measuring a man by. I was 58. The walls of that building still echoed with systems I designed and problems I fixed before most of the new hires even finished college. I'd stopped writing my name on my work years ago. Legacy had a way of embedding itself in silence. So I didn't protest. I didn't give him the satisfaction of hearing me ask why. I offered my hand. He took it, weakly, eyes already drifting back to the glowing screen. I walked out with a single box. No dramatics, no tears. But inside, something caved in. Not just because I'd been dismissed, but because he genuinely thought I could be replaced. 2 junior engineers, 1 management consultant with shiny shoes and 0 shop floor time. He thought I cost too much, but the irony was he had no idea what he'd just thrown away. The first few weeks were filled with well-wishers and empty promises. "Let me know if you need anything. You'll land somewhere better." Smiles from people who didn't understand what it meant to be 58, to have built something brick by brick with your own hands, and then be told you cost too much. I kept my replies polite, short. Underneath, I was searching for something to do with my hands, consulting, advising, auditing, but nothing filled the space the same way. The jobs trickled in, a few small contracts, a week here, a project there, but nothing that stuck, nothing that needed me. Then the phone calls started. At first, it was polite check-ins from my old engineers. "Hey Logan, quick question. Do you remember why the diagnostics node was hardwired instead of virtual?" Then the tone shifted. "Logan, sorry to bother you, but the new guys just rewired the old motor controller and now the calibration loop is stuck." Then came the panic. "We're weeks behind, nothing's syncing. One of our biggest clients is threatening to walk." I listened. I nodded. I took notes I never planned to use. The problems weren't hard to predict. The junior engineers were smart, but they were trained for clean, modern systems, not the patchwork we'd held together with duct tape, intuition, and historical knowledge. They had manuals, but they didn't have memory. And the consultant? He could run a meeting, sure. He could color code a roadmap like nobody's business. But ask him to locate the source of a timing drift across 2 legacy lines, and you'd get blank stares behind designer glasses. Still, I kept my mouth shut. I went on walks by the lake, fixed the squeaky door in my garage. I made peace with the stillness. I told myself, this is what starting over looks like. Then came Marcus's email. Subject, none. Body, can we talk? No greeting, no context, just 3 words. I stared at it for a full minute, then clicked it unread again. 2 days later, a voicemail. His voice low, rushed. Logan, I know things didn't end well, but we need you. It's urgent. He didn't sound like the man who shook my hand and told me I was too expensive. He sounded like a man who finally understood value. Not the kind you measure in salaries and spreadsheets, but the kind you only miss when everything you replaced it with starts falling apart. I didn't return the call. Not yet. He needed to sit with that silence a little longer, just like I had. The conference room looked the same, but Marcus didn't. His suit was wrinkled in places that suggested he'd worn it too many days in a row. His tie was loosened, jaw unshaven, and his usual air of casual authority had evaporated. The man who once dismissed me with a spreadsheet now sat across the table like he was bracing for a final verdict. His eyes darted to the door when I entered, then quickly down to the papers in front of him, as if posture could rebuild pride. I didn't offer small talk. I didn't sit right away. I wanted him to feel the weight of my presence. For 20 years, I'd been the one in this building people turned to when things were on fire. Then he'd tossed me aside like cost and value were the same thing. "We'll bring you back," he said, his voice flatter than I remembered. "Name your salary." I let the pause stretch. "No," I said. "Not salary. I return as a contractor. I choose which projects I take. I choose when and where I work. I answer to no one, and I want double my previous rate." He blinked. A brief flicker of resistance passed over his face, habitual pride perhaps. But it dissolved quickly. He knew the position he was in. I stood, slow and intentional. "Okay," he said, voice suddenly smaller. "Done." He tried to mask the urgency, but it spilled through the cracks. Justice didn't come from courtroom speeches. It came from silence, leverage, and the moment your worth was no longer up for debate. The office they gave me wasn't large, but it was mine. Tucked in the back hallway, it was quiet, sunlit, and far from the executive bustle. No interruptions, no meetings I didn't schedule, just a solid chair, a clean desk, and a door that closed all the way. I set the hours now. I pick the projects. I charge double and work half. When something critical breaks, they come to me. They don't question the rate. They remember the mess they made without me. Marcus stops by sometimes, always knocking, never assuming. He waits for permission to enter. He asks, not tells. His voice carries none of the arrogance it once did. He still has the title, but I hold the weight. My name isn't on the org chart, but the team knows. They defer to me when deadlines choke or systems wobble. I don't chase recognition. I don't need to. The silence I work in is not absence. It's authority. They once looked at my salary and saw a problem. Now they see what it actually bought. Resilience, knowledge, trust. Not bullet points, but a backbone. They thought I cost too much. Now they know the real cost was believing that what I brought could ever be duplicated in a spreadsheet, and they'll never make that mistake again.